Good morning, everyone. Are you ready for block 8? This is block 8 already, our August block of the month for the Bernina groups. I think I'm going to go a little bit rogue this month. I don't have any batiks in my quilt just yet, so this month just takes 3 fabrics, a background, and 2 bright prints. And I have all my other blocks laid out, which is something I do every month to make sure that I'm kind of staying in continuity so that my quilt, when it's finished, everything will look like it belongs in it. So anyway, this month I'm going to use some batiks. So 2 bright prints, 1 background. Press these up good using Terreal Magic or really a lot of starch. And don't be afraid of this month's block. It looks scary, but it's not. I'm going to take you step by step through it. You're going to be just fine. Your block is going to turn out beautiful. So I am going to clear off my cutting mat here, and we are going to get started with cutting for our block 8. Alright, I've got my fabric all pressed up. I'm getting ready to, I'm going to straighten an edge here, and this is my background fabric, so I'm going to get a nice straight edge, and then I want to take off, there's a selvage down here, so I want to get rid of that. You don't want to put a selvage in your quilt. I don't know, they just cause a lot of trouble. Okay, so now from my background fabric I need 2 squares, 5 3/4. So let me see how I can do this. Let's get this out of the way. 2 squares, 5, and there's a 3/4, and there's a 3/4. So I'll just cut this out. Double check. Alright, this might be a little better deal here. Okay. Hey, there we go. Now, okay, 5 3/4. I don't know, I still don't like that. Here we go. Let's try this. I kind of fumble around every month, don't I? Do you guys love watching me struggle? Okay, 1 to 5 3/4. 1 to 5 3/4. This is it. I'm cutting. Right or wrong, it's getting cut off right here. There we go. Okay, so there's my 2 5 3/4, and I'm always going to be doubting this the whole time now. Oh golly, I'll probably have to remeasure it 92 times. And then we need 2 squares at 2 7/8. So let's try this and see how close I can get. Oh my gosh, what a day. Okay. 1 2 and a half. 1 2 3 7/8. 1 2 and a half. 1 2. Okay, this is it. There we go. You know, quilting is supposed to be fun. You're not supposed to sweat. You know, it's only fabric. It's not going to be anybody's demise if life goes crooked on a quilt. You just add another border and, you know, no one will know. Okay, this is my bright print number 2. This one's bright print number 1. This is my background. Got that cut. Now this one's kind of tricky. I just need, I need 3 squares. I hope I have enough fabric here. I've already straightened these edges, although they certainly don't look very straight. Must be the pattern. Yeah, I guess it's the pattern on the fabric. That's weird. My eyes want to do something funky today. Okay, let's see. 3 at 5 3/4. So let's do that again. 5 3/4. There we go. Another way I can kind of check and make sure I'm doing the right thing is that this diagonal line goes through the center of my block. And I love this little 10-inch ruler. I got this from Missouri Star Quilt Company on one of their daily deals. I don't remember what I paid for it, but so there's 2, but it wasn't very much. So I need 3 of these. So I'm just going to open this out and cut one more. Okay. Get right on my marks here. There we go. Okay. Let's fine tune it, and here we go. 1 2 3 4 5 3/4. 1 2 3 4 5 3/4. I'm living on the edge today. I'm scared I'm gonna make a wrong cut for some reason. Okay, here we go. There's my 3 5 3/4 inch squares from my bright print number 2, so that's done. So now I'm down to bright print number 3, and no, bright print number 1, sorry. So I need 3 5 3/4 inch squares again, so I'm going to straighten up my edge. Let's see, which one? Oh man, I guess this one. I guess we just pick one, huh? No, I don't want to do that one. I'm going to waste too much fabric doing that. Let's do it this way. Here we go. Now I got it. Okay. Now I'll straighten this edge. This fabric's been washed and it's got all the little raggedy roughs on it. I'm going through the dryer. Okay, here we go. I'm going to straighten this edge. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and take just the fold off on this side. Just the fold. And that way I don't have to worry that I'll mess something up on that side. Alright, bright print number 1. I need 3 5 3/4 inch squares. So let's go for those first. So here's 2. And then what else do I need? I need something else out of. I need 2 squares, 2 7/8. Let's get those. We can get those right here. 2 7/8. I like this ruler because I can see these markings so much better. My old eyes are happy when I can see the markings. Okay, now we need one more 5 3/4 inch square. And we're all cut out. We have everything all cut out, and we can even start sewing here pretty shortly. This block looks really scary. I know you've seen the picture. Go ahead and breathe. It's all right. You're going to use all kinds of skills that you have already used in our block of the month process, and I'm going to help you. It's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. You know, why worry? That won't do any good. Say, okay, I am a rock star. Beth told me I was a rock star, and I am, and I am going to do this. All right, let's put away our scraps, and we have to do some marking, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to put this little block together, and it's going to go really fast. I want you to take those two small 2 7/8 inch squares of your background fabric and the two 2 7/8 inch square pieces of bright print number 1, and we're going to take our on the wrong side on the background fabric. We're going to draw a line, and you can use a pencil or just go lightly, and we're going to go corner to corner diagonally so that we have a line that we can follow when we are stitching. We've done this before. It's going to be okay. I keep telling you that. Maybe I'm the scared one. I could be, I guess. This is just a friction marker I'm using, but you could use, you know, chalk or whatever you like. So now we're going to take right sides together, and we're going to put these little squares right sides together, just like this. Sometimes on the batiks it's hard to tell what's the right side, but if you can't tell, it's okay. So let's see, I am going to put a little pin, just a minute, and get my pins. Margot at my local quilt shop in Des Moines sold me these little pins, and they are so nice. I really like them a lot. I can't remember what they're called, but maybe she will comment if she sees my video. She's on our group. And my husband says that this looks like a little coffin. A little tiny bug coffin, poor thing. There you go. Sound effects. Might as well have them if it looks like a coffin. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to take these two pieces of patchwork to the machine. I'm using a 65-9 needle. I like to make a little hole. I don't use big needles when I do my patchwork. I'm using Aurifil 50 weight thread in both the bobbin and the top thread. And I'm going to use my 37D foot. And on the Berninas, you know that D means that you have to put your dual feed down. It's a dual feed foot. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew a very accurate 1/4 inch seam on both sides of the line on both of these pieces. Okay, all sewn on both sides of the line at a very careful 1/4 inch seam allowance. And now I'm going to cut them apart, and I'm going to cut right on the line that I drew. And a friend who was talking to me about this block, I was telling her about this block, she suggested pressing the seams on this block open. But I'm going to press mine toward the dark fabric and see if, because my background is so light that, you know, I don't really want a shadow behind here. So I'm going to press all mine toward the dark, and if it goes crazy before I get my block finished, I guess I'll figure out how to deal with it. I often do things in a manner just like that. It's a learning opportunity, right? Okay, all right, let's see what's next. Our little half square triangles are supposed to measure 2.5 inches, and this is a little 2.5 inch ruler. And so if you need to trim a little, you can, and take off your dog ears. And there we go. All pretty. Okay, next we're going to work on some big squares. Okay, here we are. We've got our 2 7/8 inch squares sewn together. We'll set those aside. We don't need to do anything more with them. So now I want you to stick right with me. Let me see if I can bring you in a little better here. This is just like what we did on our bear paw block. We're going to make quite a few half square triangles with just a couple cuts. So here's what we're going to do. On the back of both background pieces, we're going to draw a line both ways diagonally, and they're going to cross right in the middle. But we need a line going both ways, so we'll mark both of these. Get those done. And remember, when we sew, we're going to be sewing a 1/4 inch on both sides of this line. Now we're going to follow really close. This is tricky, a little bit tricky. We're going to take one fabric one, our bright, and a background, and put together, and our fabric 2 bright, and put together. Let's do that. And then we'll go ahead and put a pin, because we don't want these to get mixed up, and they're right sides together. Okay, so we know how we're going to sew on these. And now we're going to take one accent to accent. Let's see. And we're going to put these right side up. Then we're going to take this one and put on here, and this one and put on here, and we're going to mark these the same way. Here we go. So across here we'll do our mark, and across this way and the same on this. Well, I'm going to turn this one over so I can see my lines. It won't matter what side you put your mark on. Just put it to where you can see it. And pin these so that nothing gets mixed up between here and the sewing machine, because that can happen and has happened. Okay, now let's check. We've got a background and a accent 1, background and accent 2, and then we have these two together and these two together. And we have them marked. So now we're going to go to the machine and sew 1/4 of an inch on both sides of both marks. Alrighty. I stitched 1/4 inch from the line, both diagonal lines, and I pressed my blocks after because they kind of wobble up a little bit, and I wanted to kind of set my seams. So since I used a friction pencil, my lines went away, but you can see that all I have to do now is to cut down between these lines. But I'm going to do that last. So let's see, I'm going to start on this one since I think you can see it better. And we're going to do this, we're going to run through this a couple of times so that you'll get a chance to really practice this. So here we go. You're going to cut right down the center first, just like we did with our bear paw block. Then you're going to cut down the center horizontally. Then you're going to cut your diagonal lines between the stitching. And then we're going to have a whole bunch of half square triangles in one little step. So let's head right down the middle, and you can measure this easy if you want. This ruler is 3 inches, and it's not going to fit exactly on both sides, but we're gonna true these little half square triangles up after we get them cut. But for now, I'm just going to go right down the middle. And I'm not going to move anything. Don't touch your block. Don't move anything. And now we're going to go right down the middle here. And I'm lining it up where the point is of my stitching. And then I'm lining one of the straight lines of my ruler up with the edge of the little block. Then we're going to cut this way. Don't move anything. And now we're going to cut Whoops. We're going to cut this way down the middle, corner to corner. Don't move anything unless it jumps. And we're going to cut straight down this side, corner to corner. And that's how we're going to cut the other three. And now we have a whole bunch of half square triangles. So we'll press these, and I believe they should finish at 2.5 inches square. So look at that. Perfect. All right. So I'll put these in a little pile because I'll take them and press them. And then we're going to cut one more, and so you can see it again. This time let's cut a light one. Okay, so I'm looking at where the stitches come together on my little piece of patchwork, and I'm going to line up a line on my ruler with this edge down here of the block. Make sure I'm over, and I'm going to cut right down the middle. Not going to move anything. I'm going to do the same thing again. And I'm looking at the stitching in the middle so that my ruler is lined right up on the V, you know, like when there's a V here. Let me see. I don't know if I can get you. I don't know if this will work. But yeah, maybe. Okay, let's see here. There we go. There's my stitching coming up, and it'll go back down because of my crisscross stitching. And I'm going to cut right through the two V's on my piece of patchwork. And I'm not going to move anything. And now I'm going to cut corner to corner, which is the easy part because all you have to do is aim for in the middle of the two rows of stitching. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's how we're going to cut all. I have two more to cut, so I'll cut them. And then I'm going to press everything, and I'll press it all toward the dark. I'm probably going to regret that, but that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll see how this, if I need to, maybe I can switch. You know, I'll press them a different way if I need to. So, okay, I'll cut these, get these pressed, and guess what? We're just about done. And you know, with our patchwork, and we're just about ready to start piecing our block together. So I'm going to cut these. I'm going to press the ones I've already got cut, and I'll be right back. Alright, got them all pressed. Each one should measure 2.5 inches square. And I like to take the dog ears off. I suppose sometimes you could leave them, but I don't know. They seem like they get in the way, especially after your quilt is together and you've decided you want to quilt it, and if you take it to a long armor, they may tell you that there were some bumps they had to get over in your quilt. They might complain a little. So, and I do most of my own quilting with my 770. And I think if you can get in the habit of looking for and taking away as much bulk out of your quilt top as you can. You can kind of do that as you go along. And it'll just make it a lot better when you get ready to do your quilting. See, this one's quite a bit too big. I've got some off both sides, and most of these are coming out just perfect and don't need any trimming except for the dog ears. Get them off. So I have all of these to go through and check and trim, and so when I get that done, I'll be back and we'll lay out our block. We're just getting about to the home stretch. I got all my little half square triangles pressed, and I have my block laid out, and I'm going to teach you kind of a fun little way. There's an awful lot of 2.5 inch pieces here, and it's going to be really easy to get them mixed up. So if you have an extra cutting mat or something that you can put this on and take it to your machine all in one piece, that's great. But I don't have anything like that, not yet anyway. So I'm going to teach you how to chain piece this entire block and not get anything mixed up. So when you're piecing these little guys, it's really the best if you can get the seams to go in opposite directions. And this one, when I pressed them kind of lightly, and I didn't use any steam. I don't use steam when I quilt anyway, but since I didn't use any steam, I can coax this little one back a different direction. And I'm going to start. This is my first block, a little block of patchwork on that row, and this is the next one over. I've turned the lights off on my machine so you can, there's such a glare. So I turned those off so you could see a little bit better. I hope you can. So I've got my 37D foot on, and I'm going to head down here. And usually I've been using leaders, but I have Ava's little blanket patched all up and sewn all up, and you know, I've got to cut out something else now to do. Okay, I'm going to teach you a fun way to piece quilt blocks that have many pieces, so that you don't get mixed up and things don't get turned around and you have to rip something out. So I've moved my quilt block over here to I have my Sew Steady table on, and I've moved my quilt block, and these are the rows of my block over here on my left, and this is the left side of the block, and this is the right side of the block, and I've kept everything in order as I brought it to my machine, and I didn't let anything get turned or twisted, and I paired them up. So as they go across the block, I paired them up, and so when I had it laid out earlier, it looked like this, everything in order, and each row, remember, each row on my on the video was lined up here, and So I just paired them up from right to left, knowing that the right hand side of the pairs is the side I'm going to sew on. So I'm going to I paired up every row just like this, and I didn't twist or turn anything or get anything out of order. At least I don't think I did. And now I have all my rows in order. So I'm going to take the top left bit of patchwork and sew it up. I've got the lights off on my machine so that you can see a little better. I hope you can see. Alright, we're going to just go right down this little piece of patchwork. I've used up all my leaders. Ava's little blanket's about done. I just have to put it together. Okay, this is row 1, left end of row 2. Get things all straight and pretty here. And I'm not breaking the thread, I'm just piecing along. I'm going to leave these right on the machine till I get to the last row, and then I'll, okay, left end of row 3, sewing on the right hand side. You know your left from your right. Let's see, this got a seam that's bugging me, so I'm going to turn it. When I pressed these, I wasn't sure if I might have to flip some seams around. So I just pressed them lightly, and I didn't use steam. I don't use steam when I quilt. But, okay, left hand side of row 1, 2, 3, 4. This is row 4, and this is the left hand side. All my pieces of patchwork are lining up beautifully. And we're just gonna get them all on here. And left hand side of row 5. Quarter-inch seam. And make sure you're real careful about that. Okay, here's the left-hand side of the last row. So we'll put that on. And then we're gonna then we are going to lay these over right back where they came from, but I'm not going to cut them apart. Okay. And we're not going to twist them or turn them. They're going to come right back just the way they were. And I'm going to finger press them a little bit, each one. And I'm not going to finger press very hard either, because I always want these seams to nest into each other, so yeah. If I need to switch it to go the other direction, I can, if I don't have it pressed too hard. Alright, here we go. These are all going right up here, right back in their place. And we're going to go down and do the next set of pairs. Just like that. Here's my first one. This one's already going, but I've come off the end of it so it'll be attached. Okay, so middle set of middle pair, second row. This is my first row, pair in the middle. Sewing on the right hand side. next pair, not turning or twisting anything, making sure they're going the right way. If you've got everything transferred over to your sewing machine the right way, you should be in good shape. Next, then, guess what we have? We have the middle row down the block. So we'll finger press these a little bit, just so we can kind of see. Maybe I'll press these the other way. Yeah. So press these the other direction. I see some of these are white, so it won't matter. Background stuff. So I press the first row to the right, and I'm finger pressing this row to the left. Lots of right and lefts in this block, isn't there? It's like doing the hokey pokey. Okay. Alrighty. Got that last row done. And you can see that I have my block all together. The right side, the middle, and the left side. This is all one piece here. All chain pieced together. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to put these together and chain piece them right down the way. So I've got my middle row and I'm putting it on my left hand row. So let's put a pin. And the next one. And then just pretty short order, we'll have the block together. See, there's only one way they can go, so you can't get them messed up. This is the way that I do all my watercolor quilts. I chain piece them like this once I have them laid out the way I want. That way I don't lose any of my colors. And I don't have a design board. I just have a kitchen table. So sometimes you have to devise ways to make sure your quilting is going as planned. Okay, here's the whole block. I'll see if I can slide it over so you can see it a little better. Here's the whole block, and it's just chain pieced together. You can see that it's not totally together, but it's connected with the threads. The whole block is. And nothing got out of order. Everything looks great. And now it's a matter of joining the rows. And since we have these little threads between each row, we can't get that messed up either. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the rows together. I'll just keep sewing rows together, and my block will be all together. And when I'm doing this, I can look to see that my seams are nesting, and I can be careful that I'm right at the point. And remember, when you sew a point, you want to go just a little into the seam so you don't cut the tip of your point off. And so I'm going to go ahead and sew these rows together. And I didn't get a single thing lost or out of order. Gotta get a pin. There we go. block will be finished. I am going to go ahead and finish up my block. And I'll be back and we'll measure it and see how close I came. It's supposed to be 12.5 inches unfinished. And so far this year I haven't made a single one that really was that right spot on. But they are all really, really close. So, alright, I'm ready to sew my first row. I will sew all these rows together and we'll be right back. Time to press. I've got my block all together with all these little seams. And so we're going to press really carefully because some of these edges are not on the straight of grain and could stretch a little bit. So I'm just going to go really slow, and I'm going to kind of hold out so that I don't press a little pleat, you know, in on the other side, because this is the back side. And so I have to be really careful. And then when I get it pressed, I'll measure it and whoops, and we'll see if I did any better this month. I'm just being really careful as I go along. I don't want to twist something that isn't supposed to be. I might shout. Twist and shout, get it? I'm on a roll today. Okay, so I'm coming on up and I'm still pulling a little just to keep from getting these little pleats on the front side because I'm still on the back of the block. So when I get this all pressed on the back, I'll turn it over and press it from the front, and then we will measure. Okay, my block's all done. I did end up having to take one square out and turn it. I got one square set in the wrong way, but everything else looks great. Got the little frame and kind of the little windmill thing going on, and the windmills in the outer corners. It's a neat block, and believe it or not, I finally got a block that fits. So that's a pretty good deal. So try not to be intimidated by this month's block. It's a lot of little pieces. Go slow and lay everything out, and be careful with your pressing and careful with your seam allowances, and post your block on the group so I can see pictures when you're done, and have a great day. And I'll see you next month for block 9.